trash, suck, wasted potential. What would be the best way to describe Black Clover villains? Hmm. Well, that's a problem for future Natas. The current Natas' job right now is to make the video. So, anyways, greetings, mortals. I am Natas, one of the rulers of the underworld, or specifically the ruler of Manga Hell. And today we'll be discussing the, I would say, pretty definitive, or probably the biggest, or the one you will point to problem in Black Clover right now, and that is the villains. I mean, granted, there's some other stuff that I feel like we can discuss that the Black Clover has a problem with, but the one I'm focusing on and the one that's my job, and that is the villains. Now, recently the Spade Invasion arc wrapped up, and we are going a 3-month break. And who is to say? And yeah, and let's not pretend. And I feel like it's perfect time to discuss the villains of Black Clover. Now, this is going to be an overview on the villains of Black Clover, not just the Spain Vision themselves, because honestly, even from the beginning, Black Clover has had this very, well, be the right way, surprisingly bad or just average right when it comes to villains. And before the Black Clover stands start screaming to my ears or start rampaging across continents, and going to hell just so they can scream at me or something, or whatever you people want to do, let me point out, we will be discussing the last chapter. We will be discussing chapter 331 and that twist. And we'll be talking about it, but we are not gonna be criticizing it because it's not a bad twist. So, for right now, we're just gonna be talking about everything. Now, the best way I should start this video off is going through the villains throughout the story, which, not gonna lie, maybe it's because of the more different in terms of, different writing in this generation of Black Clover and My Academia and all that. But, surprisingly enough, Black Clover doesn't have that many villains, so that, noticeable enemies, antagonists. Like, for as long, even though I know it's not even not going to end, it's just barely going to be end up half as long as some other series. But surprisingly enough, it's pretty empty when it comes to antagonists all in all during the story. But anyways, let's get into the meat, and let's start with the Eye of the Midnight Sun. They're the first real villain group that we got, and the first one we actually got to see. Now, the Iron Midnight Sun was surprisingly a decent start to this whole thing. Like, there aren't that many complaints I can get to the Iron Midnight Sun once it comes down to it. They weren't anything iconic or special, but they were done pretty decently. I mean, the guys who were just like the dumbass soldiers to beat up were, well, just that. They were nothing special. There was no ranking between them. They were just soldiers to beat. Now, as for the important members, like the Radies, Valtos, and Sally, and the Third Eye and Patry, well, since Patry and the Third Eye are also a part of the other villain group, we are not gonna be counting them for now, but we are gonna be talking about Radies, Valtos, and Sally, and like I said, they are done pretty well. They are a bit more of a danger than the rest of the soldiers, but they aren't anything too special, as you can tell by the fact that, their magics aren't really, they aren't the most combative types. The best way to describe them is they are the support of the main forces of the Third Eye, since they are, competent. I mean, the army of zombies was very useful, Voltus's spatial magic was very useful, and Sally's research and all that was very useful. But as for anything else, there is nothing really to talk about when it comes down to it. And also, when it comes to the way they were handled and defeated, is actually, again, the best way was done, because once their part of the story was over and the whole thing was kind of like, I'm not a Midnight Sun, I just pawns and all that type of shit stuff, that's where it was really, it was pretty obvious. Like, the main fighters, the Third Eye, were pretty much almost gone. Just one of them remained. That guy was getting beaten the shit out of by Meliona, one of the strongest knights. And Patry was still there and still doing stuff against Julius and all. he again, that was kind of like when we transitioned to the elf part. So when it comes down to it, the third eye was, well, the Unmad Son was the remove once the story did feel like it was all done. Granted, the three main ones, Sally, Valdos, and really survived and technically did something after, with air quotes, but for the most part, the Iron time was handled pretty standardly. It's not like I'm gonna complain that much. It's not like you can complain that much about the first batches. But anyways, let's go into the elves. And the elves, again, was where I would say the problems really started, and where it feels like Tabata was starting to focus more on start to really use the whole. Alright, I'm sure that all of you are aware how it's like a joke and the what is a devil captor going to say? Bingo board and all that. And I would really say this should have been we should have kind of expected this, or it was a red flag because as soon as the elves kind of were introduced and all that. Now, when some people might be questioning why exactly am I saying the elves kind of should have been a red flag as soon as the next batch of villains are kind of come through, is simple, and that is the elves really only have Patry and their backstory going for them as villains. Nothing else. I mean, once you really think about it, they do the same thing as the villains later on, where they repeat the same stuff over and over and over and over again. It's just that unlike those villains, where they, do it, the other villains would just do it for evil for the sake of evil reasons. The elves just, said because revenge, you'll pay for what you've done to us 500 years ago. So it's a bit more understandable why they are saying it, even though their dialogue is still very repetitive stuff and done the same. And that's not the only thing that you can notice. You also have to notice that it's actually straight up mentioned to us by some characters that they have a very similar personality wise. Look at Raya. He stated to the elf that possessed Dorothy, you and me sleep a lot, but you sleep more than I do. So that implies they are kind of very similar when it comes down to it. So again, the whole repetitive dialogue and too many characters being very similar should have really been a red flag and foreshadowing what's going to come for the elves. Now, I feel like because the elves, generally I think had a shorter arc and, the backstory was really good as well as Patry, and I even hear Raya is considered pretty good as well as Veto. So, but as for the rest, it really just kind of had repetitive dialogue, and the designs even weren't that special. I mean, just the Magic Knights with pointy ears, a little holy aura, and some tattoos. Now, the real villain members of the elves that we really should be talking about are the apostles, which again, red flag, because this will surprise you, but half of the apostles get taken down really goddamn easily. Alright, so Drew, I think the one who possessed Ghost and the one who possessed Dorothy, which I think was called Ravy, was, you know, or opponents that were, semi-difficult. I mean, it's not they were easy, but they did have were difficult to defeat. The thing is, though, every other ones until like the Padre and the Zagreus reveal were taken down relatively easy. Like that Kaiser elf doesn't even have a name. He's not like one of those characters you can't remember a name. He's just an elf that possessed Kaiser. You don't even get his name, and he gets defeated by Fugolion very easily when it comes down to it. I mean, not as easily as that elf that possessed the vice captain, but still very easily. Then we have Veto, who is there just so Smelion can beat the shit off him, and nothing else really. Just kind of come back in a teenager form and get beaten the shit off. Nothing special there as well. And as well as goes for Fauna, who's just there that gets beaten to shit by Noelle. Nothing special. I don't know, not even like she gets an epic defeat moment like at least Veto and Kaiser get when Fugone, Eliana, and Meliona scream, my brother, my sister is the strongest, and then that battle shot like, no, if Noelle just beats the shit off her every time we got to her fight. until there's the big chaos. Hell, I think in the anime at least, there's even a shot where Fauna be like, "Why are we still continuing this battle? Is there even any point?" So yeah, she's really nothing as a character. Honestly, I'm kind of debating if we should use Fauna, the human Fauna, as an example, but honestly, I'm not even sure if she's remembered to be a thing at this point. I mean, just saying, the whole anime team completely forgetting about her doing the times, those that filler arc isn't exactly helping. But yeah, that human fauna is really nothing. As for the other ones, well, Rill gets defeated as soon as Charmy goes half dwarf, and that one other guy who I'm not even sure who he is, just some random Rona guy. He just gets possessed by the secret villain and just is out. That's it. That's like the main force. Like those are supposed to be the strongest. In all honesty, some of the other elves, like the one that possessed Langris, was fought, and that the elf that was and gets the silvers personally came off more like the apostle elves than the actual apostles because at least those guys had some major character for the heroes. Half of the apostles just kinda online mini bosses. Like, they're kind of building them up and all, but they really were taken out really easily. Again, should have been a concern. But yeah, anyways, now we get to the final three I should discuss for the elves: Patri, Raya, and Licht. Now, Licht, calling him a villain is kind of difficult since he kind of was like just kind of stoned like at the beginning, and he was kind of this whole big twist and all, but he was kind of stoned, and then when he was fully released, he was just an ally, so I can't really talk much about him. As for Raya and Patri, Patri's thing was a very was a pretty nicely done story. Like he's a pretty good villain for that part of the story. It's sort of like Gial and Hades were off in Fairy Tail. Like they are good villains for that arc, but they're nothing like insanely special. Or overhaul for My Hero Academia, for an example. Yeah, a good villain for the arc. Probably if someone makes a top 10, top 5 list of the villains, he's definitely gonna rank high. But when it comes down to everything else, nothing special really, or anything that's gonna be remembered. But all that, like in terms of Aurelian itself, in Black Sister is fine if it has nothing. As for Raya, he's just a very chill and kind of a chill dude that's very fun. Like he has that whole interesting magic. How he was kind of like closer in terms of friendship, and as soon as he like saw Patry when he looked exactly like Lick, he was like, "Wait, Lick? No, no, you're not him." And the fact that he has that whole, "Oh, I'm disloyal because I didn't tell Patry that." Yeah, Lick would never do that, even after what they did. It is kind of like interesting that his own hatred towards the elves, well, his own hatred towards the humans, kind of caused all that. And again, he's a pretty decent villain, all things considered. Like, he could have had a more badass way of fight. I mean, we're talking about a guy who can literally copy everything. I feel like there was a little bit more potential there, especially since he's not an idiot character. But yeah, he is just decent. And with that, we cut to pretty much almost the halfway through now let's get to the middle ones. Let's start simple. Gildred and the chain guy, they aren't really anything special. They're just like small enemies, which is surprising because one of them is a fucking captain. Again, should have really been a red flag when it comes to villains when the fucking captain, traitor's captain, isn't alright, easily defeated, easily captured, and thrown away. I mean, granted, they are purple orcas, and that seems to be like kind of their thing. Seriously, if anyone wants to know which is the weakest Magic Knight squad, purple orcas, people. They have literally nothing. So yeah, nothing really that special. Rochi, surprisingly he's back, considering the fact how Tabata is when it comes to his characters and villains. Look at the Spade arc if you want an example of that. But yeah, he's kind of back and he doesn't really do anything. Like at least some Radis and Valtos joined Sally in the invasion, while Gilje was like in charge of the finances, but Roche just kind of reappeared for some reason. I guess so Gilje would be able to defeat one of the elves. I guess. But yeah, anyways, then the next groups we're gonna be talking about is the Diamond Kingdom, and this is where I feel like Tabata really messed up. Now, I do have some hope for the Spade Kingdom and the Heart Kingdom could do something. I'm not exactly sure. But the Diamond Kingdom is definitely the kingdom and the evil position that I feel like Tabata failed the most at. I mean, where do we even begin with the failures of the Diamond Kingdom? Well, let's. Well, alright, the start was pretty decent with the whole dungeon raid thing. Like, it was when it comes down to it. Like, what's his name? Like, I can't believe I'm actually forgetting the name. Lotus. Lotus, while he was a bit build up, he, all in all, wasn't like, he didn't actually have any rank. He was just like a very high ranking commander. So someone to know of, but it's nothing special. It's kind of like how the vice captains are some people you're gonna have to keep in mind when you're dealing with the Clover Kingdom. But yeah, he was nothing all that unique, and he's again like Ryan. He's a pretty chill guy, so he's entertaining and likable, and he's pretty down to earth when it comes down to it. And for Mars in the dungeon arc, he was a pretty, a standard villain in the beginning, and as well as the end with the whole tragedy with Fauna and all that, how that lead to the connect to the unminute song was a pretty well done thing and pretty excellent done. Like there was no real problem there. I do have to wonder about how things were going with the Diamond Kingdom with Mars after he got his memory back and kind of was unbrainwashed type of thing. Because the next time we see them is during the Witch's Forest arc, and he's a part of the Eight Shining Generals. Eight Shining Generals are apparently supposed to be a group that's basically the Magic Nine captains, but for the Diamond Kingdom. And their first introduction for them is the old generation, and they are just failures. Like, they get beaten easily. Like, as soon as the Golden Dawn show up, Langris, and William absolutely demolish them. Like, no competition at all. I mean, it's stated later that they are the old generation, and the old generation are just like relics. They're like, all right, this is just proof. Like Morris, basically, greatest fate of the Diamond Kingdom. Morris is basically like, all right, let's see if these old generation even have worth. So he just says, all right, go to the Clover Kingdom and try to conquer it. Let's see if you guys can actually do anything. And from the results are pretty big. Nothing. They can't do shit. They just get beaten relatively easily, all things considered. I mean, William just throws like one tree branch and defeats that right hit Afro guy easily. Just defeats the lightning guy where there does seem to have been actually somewhat of a fight, although I believe he didn't use Sylph, so he was likely holding back against the guy. But yeah, he's not really anything special, and that slime guy had a very different. That slime guy was actually had a pretty magic type that was really useful, and he was more just countered by Language and Asta, but still defeated relatively easily. Like even his whole "oh, I'm using surveillance as a hostages" thing was relatively easily done with. Really nothing. Kind of a terrible way introducing the Einstein generals. Foreshadowing. Now, as for the rest of the Witch's Force arc, Loudress is a pretty decent antagonist when it comes down to it. Like, he has a cool design, he's entertaining enough, and yeah, his power thing is pretty good. I do have to wonder why he had to be, like, change sides immediately. Maybe because, like, killing one of the Einstein generals type of thing. Maybe not doing that. But yeah, he was just he was a small enough antagonist to push Asta into his getting more of his devil powers, and that's pretty much it on his part. Now on to the rest of the Diamond Kingdom, and oh boy, Tabata just listen. I am 99% sure that Tabata did not have things planned out, or something happened in the last second that changed things, because the way how we are handling villains up in the front from now on is just gonna be like someone either didn't let someone told Tabata not to have a few arcs so he'll have some time before the major stories to farm out, or was told no, we don't want it, we want something else. Not sure which one is, but I feel like one of those happened. But yeah, anyways, for the rest of the Diamond Kingdom, the way he's handled them is a catastrophe. So let's start with the two generals that appeared somewhat, but we still don't know the names: the black guy and the fat guy. So those two appeared alongside Mars and Laudres when Mars was revealed to be one of the eight generals, the new generation. And those guys are just, and you kind of think those two will be badass, or at least like something. After those two look older than Mars and Loudress, so you'd think, oh, those are gonna be like the in their prime type of thing. Like while Mars and Loudress are just approaching their prime, those two are, and they're gonna be something. Not to mention the fact that Mars has dual typings and Loudress has that absorbing mana thing, spells and all that, you would think, oh my god, what kind of abilities could those two have? Now, one of them even has something that looks like a devil contract, so who knows what could have been. But it turns out they just have, I think, fire and wind. That's it. That's their magic types. And by the looks of things, their gimmick might have just been that the two fight together to compensate for one another. I'm going with that. I'm saying that just because they had fire and wind, I feel, and if I remember correctly, wind makes fire, spur faster. But it's nothing really that at all. Xenon just shows up and beats them off screen, and then Vonica uses them as puppets, but they get defeated relatively easily by Charlotte. Let's not even say relatively easily, just straight up easily, like no effort by Charlotte. Honestly, I'm kind of wondering why they were even there if Charlotte's Briar Magic was just gonna ensnare Vonica in a couple of pages later. Again, I'm pretty sure some things were not planned down this arc. So yeah, those two were nothing. Now, as for the fifth one, or like another one, I don't know. There's some debate about who was one of those generals that was next to that when Morse was shown fully finally. But that guy and those two guys, I think just one. I think the other guy who was shown by next to the guy in the first show guy just a black guy, also shelled for some reason. But yeah, that guy, I have no idea. Was he used as a was he off screen completely by Dorothy or someone else? I don't know. Maybe he will appear later. There is a theory that I think one YouTube poster where maybe Morris will use that guy's body to come back. I don't know. That guy is just kind of gone. No one talks. I mean, Broken may have failed, and maybe that guy's gonna be a main villain in a movie, which is possible, but we have like no information to go off of. That guy is just kind of there, nothing more. Now, uh, with that out of the way, let's get to the main branch of the Diamond Kingdom, that is Moes. And oh my god, Moes, I feel like was really when the people were starting to get pissed at the Black Clover villains, because alright, you have to realize a lot of people were really saying when Morris starts doing stuff, he will do stuff. And in all honesty, the way the story does it is in a way where you think he will do stuff. I mean, he's mentioned pretty early on in the story. I mean, Volume 3, for God's sakes, which I just now realized. Volume 26 and Volume 3 are basically just, basically just Noel's volumes, but with Vonica's reverse kind of sensed. I mean, you just think about it. The main opponent for Noel, or well, for us and anyone, was Mars, and he's in a corner, just his hat kinda in a blue shade. While Vonica, who is also the third volume, if you go from the Doctor's introductions, just has Noelle, her main opponent, because she fights mostly Noelle in a blue one, but kind of interesting, funny detail. But anyways, we'll talk about that later. So yeah, Morris just kind of appears early on, and he also gets mentioned in the which is fourth arc. I think he even shows his hand a bit. But yeah, so you'd think that in that front that he will place, and not to mention Farm's backstory and all that, and you think he'll play a big role, kind of like Zeref. Like first, his Zeref is mentioned a few times, and then we see him, and then he's like the final or the second to last villain of Fairy Tale. Like he's a big opponent. So it's kind of weird how Moaz is kind of like that, and the way he's, treated at the beginning of the Space Invasion arc is in this kind of way. When he's like one of the things we get revealed before the invasion begins, him accelerating the tree, and then when he notices, oh, Dante is killed, has been defeated. Oh, it doesn't matter. And then just looming over Dorothy, making some random monster out to kill her. You'd think that Moaz will do something, and you are totally fair. Like Tabata did not make it look like he wasn't gonna be a threat, and yet he got beaten easily. Just the Black Bulls a few punches and he was out. He was completely cuffed, like out, KO, like nothing. And the weirdest thing is, someone was saying that because of his knowledge and all the things that he knows, he will be able to put up a great battle because he knows he could know how to console. How his very magic type, boosted by Lucifero, his reconstruction as well as gravity, oh, that would be a great combo. But then got beaten easily. And the funniest stuff I cannot I want to save this until we get to the spade, but a thing you'll notice, especially in this arc, is a lot of Black Clover stands or fans, whatever you want to say, actually like have this weird thing where they wanna make excuses where they don't really work. Like the excuse they used for Morris is he's a scientist. He cannot fight. He's not a combat. Yet, once you really think about it, the elves aren't really fighters. It's just they are people with high levels of mana. No, I mean they may have gotten the bodies of fighters, but they didn't. They aren't actually fighters themselves. Maybe a few of them were, but most are probably just random civilians with high mana. The same goes for the devils. Once you think about it, they are maybe more brute and more evil and more violent. But again, nothing all that like special. It's kind of like they're really nothing. Just highlight most of mana and a bit more violent. Nothing really else. Basically, lions, if you want to think about it. But so yeah, they are using this warrior excuse. But even the guys who are actual combatants in Black Clover don't really do much. Hell, if anything, they get the worst treatment. The Ancient Generals, the Dark Triad. So yeah, I don't really think we can use the whole warrior excuse here. And now, even Sally, who is also falls on the same thing, was still an alright threat when in the Winter Village arc, and she was a pretty good support against that trio. Like seriously, Morris got defeated by a trio that even Sally at least put up semi of a fight. Now, granted, timescape training and all that stuff, you can say all you want, and I completely agree about that gap. But still, it's funny to think Morris, the guy with who knows how much power, was defeated easily by something that even the fucking random crazy chick with a brain was able to at least have a semi fight with in a group. It was a group v group, but still. So with the Diamond Kingdom out of the way. Oh, by the way, before anyone matches the Witch Queen, I'm not counting her because she kind of isn't because she's an enemy for Vanessa's personal life. She's nothing. She's not enough of a antagonist doing the Witch's Force arc to be really put there. Vanessa's personal anime, yes, but it's still similar like Nozel is kind of to Noelle, not anything all that insane. And when she becomes an actual antagonist, she's dealt with quickly. Now, as for the real antagonists, and that is the Spade Kingdom and the Devils, which are where I would say is the real failures. Now let's now these ones I kind of want to just kind of do it together because they are kind of like we can just go because they're done really weirdly. So let's just go in order. Let's start with the secret boss of the Elf arc, and that is Zagreus. Now, Zagreus' reveal in itself and his lore is a very good start for the next villains. Like, it demonstrates the threat level, in my opinion. His magic type is weird enough so it's dangerous and makes you really concerned about what kind of powers the strongest devils will have. Not to mention his intelligence as well as the chaos that he brings. And while his design is simple, it is still very opposing. All in all, Zekrom was a good introduction. I mean, for the final boss of the arc and the final like main villain of the story, he could have definitely been hyped up and built up a bit more since it does kind of feel like Tabata just needed someone to explain the whole for this to end with not end with talking jutsu. Not saying that this was the case, but it just kind of does kind of leave you with a weird taste in your mouth where it feels like this was just meant not to end the talking jutsu. Clearly not the case, but you know, still bad taste. So yeah, and he's decent in all honesty. Again, I feel like any antagonist who would show up like Zagreus would not be able to be as good. But all in all, he was done as best as you could possibly handle it. And yeah, now as for the rest, let's just go into the order. The Dark Disciples, then let's just go by their defeat order. So the Dark Disciples, they are very they're the very like basic like sort of measuring stick antagonists, like the beginners. And I'll be totally honest, I feel like they were dealt with a little too quickly. No, I get it. Duck Triad are kind of like the main group of bad guys. They are the Spring and 12, the lieutenants of the Panoramic Triad. Like, I get that that's kind of more the thing with the Dark Triad are. But still, I feel like the Dark Disciples could have been a bit longer of a presence because, let's be real here, all they do is like two of them kill half the Golden Dawn, which are mostly just known names except for two. And they defeat, and the 50% who are supposed to be way stronger than them just defeat the Spirit Guardians captors who, that honestly just makes the Spirit Guardians look weak, nothing else. So yeah, the disciples get taken down. Well, they're very basic in terms of personality. One's an angry maniac, one is like very arrogant. Like, they are nothing special. Their magic types are also very basic, like rock, fog, some kind of body relations. They'll still like more of a theming around what they'll do rather than being anything themselves. So yeah, that's about it for the Dark Disciples. So honestly, I mean, designs are cool and all, but even their battles were just kind of very basic and nothing all that special. And then we gotta go with Nama and Lilla before we get to the Dark Triad yet. And I'll be honest, Nama and Lilla. No, I can understand. They're the first Clifford Devils, and they're gonna obviously be more like measuring sticks. Like every villain group's first guy is more of a measuring stick. Like it's characters like Galan are more the exception than the rule. But still, you kind of feel like Galan that Nomalev could have done better, or at the very least, or at the very least, they could have had more of an identity because the way Nomalev come off with is just like we are a fusion, we will fuse, we fused. Oh no, we got killed. That's kind of all, and I feel like the two of them are very lazy. Like, you know how there's all that in a group where you get a number of a group, but you don't know what you're gonna do with the last one, so you just kind of are stuck with making it one very lazy, not really focusing at like this is clearly the last one, or it's very unlike this isn't the last one. That's what Norma and Lilith to me feel like. Because one thing, both of the two have a very similar design. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the reason why one has a more male one while the other one just has boobs. But yeah, they are very basic. They don't really have anything all that special. Like there was first going to thought there's gonna be like some deeper connection with Libe and Asta. Well, because Libe, well, namely Libe was in the first gate of the underworld, and then we see like the hand in the manga that throw him up in the air looks similar to I think one or two devils. So we thought there's gonna be like a connection there, but there really isn't. I mean, Libe celebrates a bit. Oh, what's that? The strongest out of the first gate. Are you running in fear? But nothing else. It's just like, oh, I'm so happy I can. Oh, I can. I went from being tortured by every single devil, but to now having the strongest one running away in fear. But again, there's nothing really all that special for the two. They're just kind of very there's nothing. The magic types are really nothing. The whole brain freezing concepts is just again nothing. Thing in any level. Nothing in any form of level. They just are there. Now as for now let's go into the actual discussion here, and that is Dante. Now, the weird thing about Dante is while everyone seems to just think of him as like either the worst, the Dark Triad, or the one they dislike the least, or the Simking joke, or the last one. Surprisingly enough, he seems to be relatively popular in Japan, with him being number 4 of all characters in the. I think the latest popularity poll they had, it was during the his battle with Magna. I think it was right afterward, but needless to say, it was sometime during that time period. He had his battle, and he was number 4, which is surprising considering how much of a meme he is. But yeah, he is, and not even like a good meme like Dio, just a meme just defeated. And yeah, he's pretty popular, all things considered. And in all honesty, he's not the worst antagonist. Like, surprisingly enough, from the ones with Lucifer's power, including Lucifer himself, he's actually the one who does the best. And in my opinion, he just suffers from the fact that something that one other Dark Triad member is gonna suffer from is he suffers from being him not having other opponent to defeat, and Tabata for some weird reason not really want to focusing on defeating having the heroes be beaten down. Because while he's insanely powerful and his introduction is very awesome, he gets defeated at the end of the day by Asta and Yami combo. With Asta just getting like one good alright, yeah, Asta did actually hit Dante earlier, but like one solid blow on Dante's chest took him down, and he just lays there, the feet unconscious, like, which does make him look weak. Not to mention that I would say also that's like the late worst design of the trio, which to be fair, Doctor are very big in terms of design, but quality, but still. He gets defeated, and then honestly, you were kind of excited for when we have that like one, no, that half a chapter where we focus on the Spade Kingdom, where we have him in the tomb, like, oh, anti-magic brat, uh, next time, as he just gets like ready. And I'm sure in the anime, I'm pretty sure they got like to give this like very ominous music, as he's gonna have his eyes closed, he's laying there, but then he's gonna slowly open them as he says, anti-magic kid. Like I'm sure that's gonna be very epically done in the anime once he comes back. But yeah, but afterwards he fine off doesn't even see Asta. He just goes against Noct and Jack and seems to be on the back foot, even though he's apparently supposed to have gotten a power from Moes in terms of his regeneration. I mean, it's difficult to tell because yeah, Jack caught him and there's blood spurring, but how much more damage that would actually mean as well. I mean, Nox says that like, oh yeah, we could take them down right now, right here. So I'm guessing that he was in a back foot, but yeah, he just but then he gets 100%, and the biggest blows just seem to be from Norma and Lilla. Norma freezes Jack a bit, and he just uses him as a punching bag. Jack still stands out there, and then apparently he just spent the next couple of minutes until uh, Magna and Zora shown up, just standing there. Honestly, I feel like this is the biggest, like, one of the reasons some people may say that time is being messed at in this Spade Kingdom because of the how it seems like nothing really happened. Like apparently Jack just literally sliced Dante a billion times, which, like, let's be real, that's probably one of the dumbest things any of the Dark Tribe were doing. So yeah, and then when Magna shows up, honestly, the way Magna just gets his like shot in, like his way of fighting against Dante is probably the worst. Where just like Dante, oh, I hit me with everything you got, and then Magna just throws his first his Soul Chain deathmatch spell, and then just go into a deathmatch, and then yeah, I feel like the first attack, because I think the first attack that Magna sent at Dante was something Dante wasn't actually predicting they or was surprised by should have been the one to have actually, got the hit in. But no, it was just the second one, the one who Dante said, "You can hit me as much as you want. Let your heart go wild." But yeah, he just got just got into that state, and then well, another thing that I think really what takes away is that every chapter in the battle between Dante and Magna just ends with Magna punching Dante to the ground. Like every chapter just ends with Dante getting punched in the face, which is helps the jokes, but it kind of takes away from the threat level because like at least have one chapter where it ends with Dante just like overwhelming Magna for like a briefest of seconds because as it stands, it's kind of like every chapter ends with Magna getting an awesome shot at Dante, and kind of demeans him, kind of makes Dante's defeat by hands of Magna more like his loss instead of Magna's, instead of like a very awesome fight. Like it's still the best I would say in the Spade Kingdom, but still kind of takes away from it. Now, after Dante, let's go to the next character that I'm honestly, I could make an entire video talking about how much Bata failed with Vonica, and I might, but I'm planning on waiting until the end of how things are gonna be progressing in the the final part, the saga. But for now, all I'm gonna say is the way Tabata used her is he better be casting his check on when the Undying bars and bring them back because the way he has done her is just really weird. I mean, for one thing, she never fights an opponent that isn't meant to show off. And when she fights opponents where the opponent is not supposed to show off, someone else appears. Like the first battle, Noelle and she wants to go into a fight with Lopa Chica, but then we have Noelle's fight, and we know Noelle's first fight post time skip isn't going to be some kind of one-sided that defeat like it was against Dante with Dante versus Asta and Yuna versus Xenon, where they already had their big epic fights after time skip, so it was, more understandable. No, we know Noelle's first epic battle against Vonica will be with her being at the upper hat. Not to mention the fact they already prepared against Vonica because Magica didn't tell Vonica to kill Opachika right there and there, because Magica is just as big an idiot as Vonica is, or would I say Bimbo? I feel like Bimbo would work far better for Magica and Vonica. But yeah, anyways, they get she just gonna goes fights against them. Charlotte's power, which again I feel like just the most forced way to make Charlotte look awesome. Like I really feel like Tabata should have just had Vonica say, "Oh well, I guess I'm just gonna have to fight you in my base form. I don't mind it. It's just not gonna be like exciting." I feel like that's what should have happened, so it would be like more of a fair and more no, still on Vonica on the back foot with Charlotte will have an advantage, but still but still a fair fight. Now, as for and yeah, her defeat against Noelle, I would say this is not one battle against Noelle. I feel this is again one of those Vonica suffers for trying to make Noelle's character look cool because once you actually think about it, what Vonica says in the especially at her like final words, where she's like, "Is this friendship?" is a very sick and very interesting thing where Vanica is not one of those characters who, like, when they get defeated, isn't because of, no, how dare you, like her brother. No, she accepts her defeat. She has nothing against her defeat. But because Noel's response is the whole, oh, I'm cool at the character, praise my greatness. I mean, that's not actually her words, but because that's the type of response that she gets, so she'll be that what we think of her. It kind of falls to the wayside. It just makes Veronica more of a laughing stock of the Black Clover community than the actual villain that she is. Now, as for Magica's host, which is definitely the reason why Vonica has had such a terrible treatment, because she's Magica's host, and Magica is a for some one problem that I also have with Magica and Vonica is the fact how the two are basically the same. Like you could literally take Magica out of the whole Noel story thing, and you would not even lose anything. Like you could have literally just kept Vonica, and you would have the same results. As for the power scalers, matching Vonica's level to a point that she doesn't get halfway beaten easily by Noel. Like we can do the basic power changes in power scaling, people. But yeah, she get. But yeah, Magica appears and she's like too similar to everyone, and she also has this like very like the way she comes off is very boring, very nothing character. Like just kind of, oh, what can you humans do? I feel sympathy. Interesting. Like she's not even like exciting like Vaga, who's at least over the top nature make helps her stand out. Majiko is just kind of very boring and just kind of stands there. Now I did kind of soften to Majiko a little bit after I watched one YouTuber's video about why Majiko is the most underrated Black Clover villain. And I do actually kind of have changed my opinion a bit to put her in the not top five antagonists for now, but when it comes down to it, Magic is still very boring, and I feel like the way they kind of just done with her at the end, like where pretty much every single power up, every good thing literally just happened at the same time, so they could defeat her. Like at first, she was kind of like this 100% dominating. Just using Vark as a puppet was enough to kill Rill and Charlotte. Gotcha's sacrifice did absolutely nothing. Didn't even manage to kill Vonica. It was absolutely in vain. And just looming over Noelle as her Valkyrie just is getting destroyed. But then we get it, Asta showing up, the bomb that Magica was going to activate and Lo Pachica activate, but he just cancels that. And then we get Valhalla, Charlotte's Biomagic completely engulfing curses. And then Gaja being brought back from the dead, with Lux showing up and destroying everything, with Nozel showing up and destroying Magica's body, so Noelle will just be able to easily slice through the Magicla's hearts with her Saint stage, and it just kind of went to shit. Now, some people also are gonna complain about the no death thing, which I personally have no problem. My problem is when it comes to how heroes beat the villains and how many heroes are beaten before the villain falls. That's what I think is the real problem and the real root. But yeah, still, it's a big failure. Now, after Magica, we have Xenon, who is like either who's again like Pacha, a pretty good villain. Granted, there's a bit of a bunch of weird stuff with him and idiotic stuff done with him as well. But because he actually has a backstory, actually there's supposed to be some reasoning, and there's actually supposed to be like a deep theme about him paralleling he gets more of a, let's just say, the more, oh, Xenon, he's the golden boy, he's the perfect one, he's the good one. Everyone else is trash, but he's a great antagonist type of thing going on now. Which I feel like I also was kind of praising Xenon too much for it, but I mean, he was just kind of like he's the golden one, the one you will praise. And yeah, his backstory, well, it could definitely have been explored a bit more, especially considering the fact he actually had a legitimate friend, and considering Vonica's reaction and her not knowing what friendship is. You'd think there'd be a more of a connection, but no, it's just he had a friend that was very similar to Asta, and then he killed him, and kind of hold absolute power. And yeah. Now, as for his fight at all, well, his fight is, I would say, more the in terms of the over the top fights, definitely the best. It still has a few this weird thing where just immediately goes to not gets all the power that he needs to defeat Xenon with Devil Heart, which honestly makes me wonder if Xenon with Devil Heart was really all that much more powerful than him with Bullet. I mean, I know it's supposed to be more powerful because Yuno's second power up that he somehow got in 2 days was able to defeat his 100% stage because Xenon was too big of an idiot to notice for 3 minutes that Yuno was just standing there. Maybe it'll be explained later with time magic, but so far Xenon is just an idiot. And if we are gonna be calling Vonica idiot for mistakes that aren't even mistakes for her character specifically, then we can call Xenon an idiot for doing mistakes that are mistakes for his character. But yeah, Xenon, pretty decent, but still nothing real that special. Just the one who gets the best treatment, so he's the kind of golden boy. Now, as for the final villain of this of the arc, we should talk about Lucifer. And while his a fight against the captains, which are some people using very highly, I would like to remind you, everyone here, Lucifero is the final bad guy, and no final villain in a no serious final villain is gonna be a pussy. Meaning that whoever was gonna be the final opponent for the characters was going to have a feat like defeating all the captains, especially considering the fact that Tabata has such a terrible job, such a title Cooper job with having other villains taking down the captains. So obviously he was going to have beaten the shit out of every single captain in the beginning. I mean, how? As soon as the whole first couple of chapters to show off how powerful he is went down, things really just went uh, speaking clean for him, terrible for him afterwards. I mean, as soon as the first batch is done, the looking cool plot armor that the Black Clover characters have, stroking, and characters like Miriam aren't even taken down. Is still able to stand back up and do stuff against him. And yeah, and now in that state, Yami and Nox double attack Shadow Playground is able to put him in danger and possibly finish him off. And though he went to that weird full power 50% serious form, whatever. And really, the problem with Lucifer is that his personality is so fucking bland. He first throws tantrums over anything that could even wound him, and then he just kind of like, it's pointless. And just kind of is very stoic and doesn't even move much. Well, moves a lot because he mostly just punches and doesn't even use gravity magic for a good chunk. But just kind of punch, punch, punch. Nothing special. Just kind of very stone face essentially. And yeah, he just does that for the rest of the fight until start with that bland face, and they tell the very final portions where Asta and his completed 100 Devil Union just humiliates him by beating the shit out of him like it's nothing. Seriously, some people say that he's gonna be way stronger than Asta when he gets out in 100% because that's how Devil percentages work and all that. And fine, if you want to say that's good, but Asta just was starting to work on Devil Union for only 2 days, and how Devil Union he didn't even get Devil Union until like a couple of hours before they actually left for the invasion. And his Devil Union was perfected in what can I think only be described in like in an hour or so, and he was able to beat 100% Lucifero effortlessly in his fully completed Devil Union. I don't know why people think that a few days of training from Asta won't be able to defeat 100% Lucifero. I really don't. But for some reason they do, and they are still saying it. And of course, this is another one of those excuses where they just kind of say, he is 50%, so he wasn't fully and all that, which fine, and blame the percentages all you want. But that doesn't change the fact how much he sucked with everything else. Seriously, some people thought there's gonna be some kind of lore, some kind of like a reveal with grimoires, consider how much they've spoken, but there's nothing. There really is no lore, no war or anything. We just have to assume there was a war because of Lord Pachica's memories. There's nothing let into it or at all. Now, now after we've done with all these villains, let's talk about two elephants in the room, named Lucius Socrates and Adromelech. Also, I'm not counting Beelzebub because he hasn't really done anything except give a power up. But we're focusing on the ones who actually matter here, and that is Lucius and Adromelech. The two characters right now, I like Adromelech's personality. His chill personality, how he's kind of like an emo goth stuck in his room, is entertaining and is fun. I'm concerned about how he's gonna be handled because I could easily see him reverting to why would I give effort to a mere human, especially if the whole time manipulation things actually are going to be the case. But yeah, he's just kind of there. So right now, I'm like it so far, but who knows how it's gonna end up. And yeah, that's about it for him. As for Lucius Socrates, the reveal is epic. It's probably gonna be top 10 moments when the series ends in the anime or whatnot and all. But right now, I feel like he still is in the problem area for two reasons. One, he could fall under the whole Dark Triad umbrella for the Spain Vision Arcade. He is not the main villain type of thing, where he's like, Lucius Socrates isn't the main villain, not Astaroth is. Astaroth is not the main villain, Beelzebub is. All that type of stuff, which, let's be real here, Lucius Socrates may have a big reveal, had a great reveal, and he may be connected to a more important character, a character who's from the beginning of the story, and I'm sure there are videos explaining it on some other channels. But that doesn't mean that he couldn't fall under the whole pawn of this guy, of this guy, of this guy type of thing, if you know what I mean. And second, depending on how much he messed with time, he could be one of those characters like Yuha Bach from Bleach, where he is just like so OP that point that whatever defeat he gets just feels extremely Deus ex machina kind of thing, and or the biggest like plot armor type of spell thing to defeat him because time is something that's very dangerous, like a very questionable thing about how you handle it. And yeah, I don't. And Lucius could fall into either one or two categories. I hope not. I hope he develops, and I hope he brings his siblings back. Because I feel like there is enough build up as well as enough, things to flash out for them. But after how the Spain Vision arc was handled, I am not 100% convinced. I mean, to be fair, Tabata is going to go on a 3-month break, specifically clarifying himself when this chapter came out that he will be thinking through the story with his editors, so he should be able to to come up with a way to make the story great and epic and all. I also believe the editor is actually a first-time editor, so yeah, first time is like communicate and unfront, which actually does explain a lot of the things in the story. But yeah, I hope this gives enough time to think about it in a way that's gonna be good and not just alright, this is the next big guy, 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 this is the reason why this guy was here, this is why this guy was the and all that type of shit. And actually, giving more of a unique group feeling instead of everyone becoming more of like a hive mind, honestly. But yeah, we'll see on that front. Oh boy, what this video is a flipping long one, like 1 hour. Seriously, I didn't expect it to talk about this long. I thought it was just gonna be like 20 minutes or something. But oh well, I wanted to talk about every single villain, and well, most villains, and yeah, that's what happens. So yeah, the villains in Black Clover are definitely a big problem. I want you all to tell me in the comments below, what do you think about the villains in Black Clover? How do you think Tabata can fix them? How do you think they can be improved? Hell, if you have any fan fictions about how you would improve them as characters, you're welcome to post them in the comments below. But regardless, this is my video on Black Clover villains, and I hope you liked it, and I hope you leave a like and subscribe to this channel for more videos in the future. And with that said, I cannot wait to see all of you mortals next time. Goodbye.